have everybody.
We do. I see the individual from Flagship out in the audience, so I'll bring him over while you do the announcements.
Oh, you know what? I forgot about that. Can you read the announcements, Sean? Since I
Yeah.
have too many pieces of paper in front of me.
1 second.
Thank you.
I think I have a copy.
Good morning, Bob. Good morning, Rob, and good morning, Nat.
Good morning.
Morning, Jim.
Okay.
Do you have him, Bob? I've got
Do you
him
have
here as
any?
well.
I've got them. Do you want
You've
to
got
go?
him there? Sure. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to inform everybody that Sean Driscoll, the authority's communication director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. Is there anyone else making an audio recording of today's meeting? If so, please identify yourself. If you are joining virtually, please press the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you are joining by telephone, by pressing *9 on your keypad, and when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Thank you.
I don't have anybody.
Good.
Okay. I'll make the statement for remote participation. I guess I got to read that into it. Pursuant to Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, as amended, search committee members are participating remotely in today's meetings because their physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. All search committee members in attendance and all members participating in the meeting by Zoom video conferencing app will be clearly audible to each other. As a result, members' remote participation in this meeting, any and all votes taken by members today shall be by roll call vote.
Wonderful.
So
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Okay, I'd like to introduce our first panelist, our first candidate. We're interviewing search firms today. This is a business meeting where the working group will be interviewing search firms to narrow down to serve one. We would like to try and keep this meeting to 1 hour. I'll point out that we have 8 sets of questions. I will ask each of the 4 members of the search committee to deal with a set of questions. Should any other member have a question to follow up from that, they can do so. But given the time constraints, we're probably looking 5 to 7 or 8 minutes per set of the questions. And with that, could you bring over, Sean, please?
Yes, Mike Stewart is over. Mike, is it just you, or is there somebody else I should be looking for?
No, sir, it's just me.
Okay, he's on, Jim, so you're good to go.
I see him in front of a plaque. Good morning, Mr. Stewart.
Good morning. Good to meet you.
Okay, just to introduce, I'm Jim Malkin. I'm the board member from Martha's Vineyard. You also have Nat Lowell, who is the Port Council member from Nantucket, who's part of this group, Bob Jones, who is the board member from Hyannis, and Rob Munier, who's a Port Council member from our city of Falmouth. So with that, we have 8 sets of questions, and maybe Mr. Jones, you could start out with the first set of questions.
Sure. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm Bob Jones, and I'm a member of the board. Flagship Maritime is very familiar to the Steamship Authority, as we've done business in the past. Is Craig Johnson still with the firm?
No, sir. He's actually the interim president of Maine Maritime now. So
there we go. Okay. Anyways, I have starting off with the prepared questions here for the looking into your executive search experience. What is your experience successfully recruiting having successfully recruiting executive leaders similar to this position.
Absolutely.
In other words, if you pay, go ahead, please, I'm sorry.
Oh, good. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's a good question, and like to thank you all for meeting with us. Honored to be here. Yeah, it's a great question, and that's the bottom line, isn't it? Finding the right firm that is familiar with this search. So we are primarily maritime recruitment. 99% of what we do is maritime. We all come from the industry as well. We have obviously allies within the industry that use us for constant needs. One of the things we do best at is recruiting from the top down, meaning we place executives and they usually come back to us to fill the rest of their pipeline. So in terms of both state entities, right, and local government roles, as well as just pure maritime leadership executive roles, we have a combination of both. We've done a lot on one end, obviously placed a lot of presidents and CEOs within the maritime industry. On the other end, we work with local authorities, ports authorities, state ferries, Staten Island Ferry, to name one. I'd like to obviously keep away from specifics too much, but that was a good example of one. Well-versed, we have a process that works very thoroughly, and we take pride and joy in doing our job.
Well, thank you. That's the answer I was expecting. So the one thing I'll preface this next question here. Okay, never mind. Does the candidate, does Mike elicit confidence that he can successfully recruit in the maritime industry? I think you just answered that. The final question is the one I wanted to preface. Do you understand, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, that we work under the open meeting law, which basically states that all business must be done in public. And like this hearing here today is being televised and it is in public. I don't think we have a lot there, but in any event, it's important to know that that's the procedure. And for our selection of a headhunting firm like this will be done in public. When we go to interviews, that will go underground into executive session. We will not divulge the name of the candidate or whatever, and we will not come out of that until we have made a selection of 1, 2, 3, however it turns out, candidates. But in that time, when we go into a final business session, the name of the candidate will be brought forth publicly. And I say that because of the confidentiality of the candidate, and they should know that at some time, if they're selected to that, their name will be public. And we all know that the reasons for that is to protect the confidentiality to current employees. So, have you ever handled this before?
Yes, sir. Yeah, and so the finalists will be the right, correct, or
That's correct.
okay,
Yes.
yes, it works.
Okay, so that doesn't present a problem, so that's all we need to know. Thank you so much, Mike, and we may talk to you on the second round here, but Jim, I think that's fine.
Okay, good. Do any of the working group have follow-up questions on that topic with the executive search experience? Rob or Nat? No.
No.
Okay. Rob, you're got the next set, maritime search experience?
Yep. I think, Mike, you've answered a lot about the maritime search experience, but I do have a couple of questions that are sort of subtexts to that.
Sure.
One is what is your assessment right now of the current market for senior leaders in the maritime sector? In other words, for people that might fit this position, what's your sort of assessment of the market?
Absolutely. I think everybody's looking for the right opportunity. Obviously, geography and of course inflation and then the price of moving has gone up and changed a little bit of the way people decide where would they go. But in general, your particular search is highly attractive, obviously, and I'll go into that later. But the market itself, with the actual people on the move, it's strong. A lot of people are always listening to us and the opportunities we have, and that's how I kind of base my, certainly my opinion. But I would say, it's definitely one of the highest markets we've ever seen. It's so unique in the fact that obviously, 2-3 years ago with COVID, it changed a lot. Just the way we meet, right? The way we interact, the way people interview and where they interview. And I think certainly everybody getting back to the office a little bit may change some things, but in general, the market is definitely hot for candidates and right profile as well. So
Let me just make sure I understand what you mean by that. And that, is that a good thing or not a good thing? In other words, is the market hot, meaning it's going to be hard to find somebody, or the market is hot, meaning there'll be lots of candidates that we have to choose from?
correct. I think it's very hot. I think it's in a good way. There's certainly a lot of movement. I think a lot of people, the sting from COVID is over, right? So everybody's back to focusing more on their career, more on the long-term goals of themselves. So I think that we should present Pinelli candidates.
So would you characterize this as an attractive position that for you to market?
Absolutely. I think it's attractive for multiple reasons. I think the location alone, right? And I'm going to factor that in, obviously, with the search. I know I took a lot of time to watch all your general manager committee meetings, the search committee meetings on YouTube, and have a good feel, obviously, for what you're looking for. But in general, the Steamship Authority alone is a very attractive name. The location's highly attractive. I think it's got some challenges, obviously. We all know that. But at the same time, I do think you find the right candidate who really embellishes and loves a good challenge and loves being able to fix problems. I think that combination above should be a very attractive candidate.
So given that, how long do you think this would take? I realize you can't answer that specifically, but using your vast experience, what would how would you bracket this in terms of how long it's going to take to have a candidate?
Sure. Yeah, we update the numbers every year. So we, as a company, in the 12 or 13, 14 years we've been open, 14 now, placed over 1,500. So we actually do the math on that. An average is 45 days. Typically that involves relocation as well. My guess would be the first 2 weeks is when you'll start seeing a flurry of candidates once we execute the contract. And obviously from there, it's both your availability and timing and the board's timing and theirs, right? How many interviews are done, but you typically 45 days. I've seen as long as 90, I've seen as short as 30. It just depends on the candidate, where they live, and how fast we move. So relocation obviously usually takes 3 weeks. You can tack on that, so.
Okay. And you think even with our high cost of living and all of those housing, those kind of impediments, we'll be able to attract somebody?
I do. Yeah, you got to find people that are looking for the right reasons, right? And maybe somebody coming home. It could be someone who's always wanted to live there, hasn't done before. Somebody has family in the area, right? So I do think so. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Those are my questions on that topic. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you.
Good.
Matt, do you want to cover the next one?
Yeah. Yep. That was good, Rob. That was a good back and forth. So my question would be, what is your perception of the key challenges facing the steamship? You said you were watching our meetings. That's good. Have you, you can't obviously know everything about the steamship,
No.
obviously, but it's good that you took the time to do at least that. That's great. And the key challenges facing us today, just want to hear what you have to say about that.
Sure. Yeah, we read obviously the current events, some employment shortages, especially on the vessel side. I understand that. That's something we battle every day as well. You're not alone in that. So know that. Certainly, I think the P&L volume, right? It's a big company, a lot of revenue coming into your company. It's a great undertaking to, maybe improve on that, maybe change a couple things the way they're done. I think that obviously geography is a challenge. It doesn't matter where anymore. Florida used to be a cheap place to live. It's not anymore.
Yeah.
Everywhere is expensive now.
Yeah.
It would be just a cultural fit, right? And I'm focusing on that as well as the culture fit. I understand, obviously tech center or whatnot. In general, it's tough to fit in anywhere, right? So what you want to do is find the right person with the right motivation, the the right personality, right? Because you do have to deal with government agency as well as you have to deal with the basic, back and forth of a vessel. So you have to know a little bit of everything. You have to know, and you have to be very even keeled, but also have a bright mind and outside the box thinking on how to fix things. So.
Yep. And I like your point you're making about the coming home or the attractiveness of this area. There's an attractiveness in season and an unattractiveness in weather like we're having right now. So
right.
you got to have a little bit of a mixed bag, and the ability to move. I didn't even get into that as far as housing and relocation. It isn't easy. The person has to have a lot of flexibility in their personal life as well.
Yes.
So I'm sure you're already figuring that out. So with that said, tailoring the search to attract the right candidate is going to be, sort of a 2-3-fold sort of plan. You have the challenges that we face, you have the challenges the person faces just moving here, the transition, etc., of the fit. So I just want to ask you that, like, what, it's sort of a follow-up to the same thing you just said.
Yeah, I mean, the key is to get as many eyes as possible in this, and that's my opinion, right? And obviously, I'll whittle down, and we together will whittle down, if I'm chosen, of course, the names and the candidates and how they fit. But that's my ultimate goal, is to get as many proper, certainly on paper, qualified candidates, and then whittle them down with your group, with our defined process to ensure that you're certainly getting a handful of candidates that are no-brainers. We just have to pick the right one, right?
Yeah, it definitely has to have a lot of boxes have to be checked. Come down here and down here, whatever you want to call it, and the uniqueness again of the way this place operates, both islands being a lot different. And then the other last question I have is the ensuring confidentiality throughout this process.
Sure.
Do you have a system in place for that?
Oh yeah, that's what we did best, right? Absolutely. We ensure that both candidate and client alike are discreet as much as possible. We certainly wouldn't be in business if we gave away people's livelihood, right? So that is very dear and near to our heart in terms of the way we do things and keeping people confidential. So.
Okay, excellent. Appreciate it.
Of course not. Good to meet you.
Jim, is anyone else? I can't see the other people, so.
Okay. I don't see anybody raising their hand. So I have a bunch of questions, or a series of questions, that I was going to ask about the job description. But given your understanding and a few of the things you said, I want to really cut to what for me is the chase on the job description issue and the attributes of a candidate for this position. You've indicated that you've been following our meetings. You have an awareness of the Steamship Authority. One of my personal concerns is that we find a candidate who is good at change management, who can understand the detail of the multiple things that make the steamship work, as well as the impact that the steamship has on the lives of its customers and users. So we're talking about someone who has a record of process and execution and change management. Now, if those are key elements of this, what do you think the field of potential candidates would be for that type of a job description / job requirement overlook?
Right, and I'll obviously get a little bit more specific offline, but in general, the capability has to be someone who's done it before or shown the ability to do it, right? And that's one of the things we're going to focus on when we're recruiting, is certainly finding someone who can prove that they've done something similar before, right? Come into a situation where very unique, shown the ability to grasp very quickly what the issues are. But obviously everything comes in time. So it's got to be someone that's patient as well. Someone that understands leadership and certainly how to deal with government authorities at the same time. So in terms of the numbers, able to do this, obviously focusing on some of your quasi-regional competitors is a good start, right? I've also thought outside the box in terms of maritime leaders, in terms of shipping. right? Somebody who's dealt with government authorities as well. Even, the cruise lines, right? Similar to, you have to please your clients, and those clients are passengers, right? And cargo. So thought a little bit about that as well. I think the overwhelming, what we'll end up with, my goal would be anywhere from 3 to 5 candidates, kind of like you'd have for search for 4, right? For your search firm. That's a nice even number, obviously counting in the fact that you might have 1 or 2 on your own to look at as well. But yeah, that would be the goal, is to submit a long list of, my guess would be about 20 people that we think are capable, that will absolutely be interested in the role. And then as our vetting process, which is thorough, which is certainly something I'll work on with you specifically, because we try to tailor each search to the client, not just run our own show every time. That'll be something we work on in our rubric, and certainly, eliminating candidates and making the 5 to 7 we think we can obviously hire. So
My follow-on from that,
yes, sir.
given what I've just described as change management, good understanding of processes that are involved, motivating people, execution. Do you think we're going to be able to find that candidate who is willing to come and interested in coming to be successful here in the southeastern Massachusetts area?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Mr. Jones, you want to take the set of questions on the quality of the search process?
Okay, I think you've touched on a lot of things, but I'm just going to read it, and you can add to it, or just say covered. Anyways, can you describe a little bit more about the search process that you would use to find the candidate?
Absolutely, and this is technically the first step, right? As I learn more about the role, and hear from your committee. But certainly, we have a 6-step process that was very clearly defined. The first is identification. And basically that's working with you to identify what the proper and the talented candidate is that you want. Obviously, it combines a little bit of everything: geography, compensation, background, leadership, proven skills, where they're coming from. And research is our second step. Typically, that is just getting as many names as possible that we feel are qualified. That's everything from our own database that has 90,000 mariners on it. That comes from our own reach, our personal reach of people we've talked to. I mean, there may be a chance that this person I place has either been a client of mine or somebody I placed in the past. That's usually the way it goes, right? We go with who we know and who we trust. The third is just an exhaustive public search, right? It's getting the name out, getting the word out there that you're looking, if it's not already out there. It's identifying brand new candidates. Obviously, they go through the same vetting process as the ones that we work with. And obviously, the next step is contacting them all, right? And that's different ways. The beauty of social media and everything now is you can attract even more than ever. So we use every bit of ability and talents and touches that we have to connect with people and certainly explain the role. And obviously, this job description alone, honestly, I read it 4 or 5 times just this morning again, and it looks fine. I mean, it looks right, exactly. It lists everything you're looking for. So that'll be probably obviously part of the process when I sell to the candidates. And then we assess together, right? We sit down and we decide, what this person does not have, what that person does not have. And the beauty is I can go back and if you do have questions, I ask these candidates back and forth, right? So I trust that we work together on that and certainly get as much feedback as possible. And that's really the key, honestly, on this is the communication side, back and forth, letting us know what you're saying, what you're not saying. And we're an open book on our end. So please let us know what direction, if we're heading the wrong direction for whatever reason, we adjust very quickly as long as we get the proper feedback and we have good communication. And interviewing, right? That's really when we get into it. Obviously, look, the people we're going to send over are going to be fits. They're going to, on paper, you're going to say, okay, I get it, right? I understand why he sent them in and why my team sent them in. But the interview process is really great because then I can get your feedback. I get the candidate's feedback. I ensure I'm the middleman, right? Or middle recruiter where we certainly have proper back and forth, and you can hear their questions. You can hear their concerns. I can hear your questions and concerns for the candidate, right? So it's a very important process. And the final of the 6-stage process is the placement, right? Is the acceptance. And that's one thing we try to do very well here, is ensuring that this candidate will accept the price that you're going to offer, right? Because it would be a complete waste of time to interview talented people and then not fit within the pay scale, right? So we ensure both, and as well as relocation, right? They have to be willing to relocate if they are going to relocate. That's something we work hard on these candidates with, to ensure that both they will move and they'll accept the price you pay. And obviously we follow up constantly after the placement's made, making sure everything's going well, making sure the candidate and the client are both very happy with the situation. So.
Okay, I assume that this communication, you'll guide us along the way of where we should be heading with these things. And do you, after, vetting these candidates, do you just develop a short list for us? Do you, screen them and say, well, they're good people, but they don't match the job description? And,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
you do. So you'll give us a short list.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
So the long list starts first, right? That's a list of candidates that I've talked to and from a varying way of experience, right? And obviously, as we work together, we nail down exactly what you're looking for, certainly exactly the answers you're looking for in candidates, and then there comes a short list, and that short list will probably be, that's the 3 to 5 that are left that certainly fit the billet. You just are picking the best one that fits the best for you. So.
Okay. So along the way that if you feel that we should do, something different in our search, or add something or subtract something or whatever, just constant communication, we can work out the details. It's going to be, and how do you do that? Like a video conference, or you, telephone, or
Yeah, whatever works for
how
you.
will you?
Sure, we could do a conference if that's best for you, a phone conference, whatever is best for you. But that is a great point, by the way, to mention. During the recruitment process, I will give you the candidate's feedback, and it may be while I'm contacting these folks, and I'll give you the honest feedback that they're giving me about their thoughts on the role. And that's a great way to kind of let you know what you're either up against or how many candidates you might be receiving. So we're good about that, but kind of giving you constant updates during this 6-step process. And then that's why it's important, like you said, to meet, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly or what have you, about the candidates, how the search is going, and the proper feedback we can give you about where you stand. So.
And you will be our contact.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'll have my team behind me. So we do. I didn't get to tell you more about the team yet, but we have 6 recruiters in the United States. We have 1 overseas in Europe that handles our European office. All of us work together. It's just easier that way to get as many eyes on this role as possible. But yes, I will be your direct contact. I will be the one talking to the candidates, and I'll be the one submitting them, and moving forward with them. So.
Okay. Do you do any inner relations with other firms that may have candidates or something? In other words, in a yacht broker situation that I work in, it's called co-brokerage and things. Do you do any of that? If somebody happens to know.
We typically don't. We typically don't. We feel confident in our process and what we're doing, but certainly, if that was ever an option, we would entertain it.
Yeah, I would assume so. Mike, I think that's all from my side. Thank you.
Okay, Rob, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I had just a follow-up question to Bob's topic, which is, do you have some kind of portal in which we would access, where we would see resumes and information and your assessments, that type of thing, some kind of a, online access to the information that you're gathering?
We will work on that. I'll ask the rest of the partners. I know that was going to be a topic. We certainly can share everything with you. An online portal, I probably could work that out where it's a login. But we have an excellent CRM, an excellent applicant tracking system that I do believe we can assist you with, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, those can be a way for us to do some homework in
Sure.
advance of having a meeting by accessing, the CVs, by whatever your sort of assessment, those types of things.
Oh, yeah, totally makes sense. I understand. Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mike, I have a follow-up question. It's Malcolm here. This follows on from your discussion about Mr. Jones's comment regarding co-brokerage, so to speak. In my being somewhat of a grumpy curmudgeon, in my years of experience with various search firms, at the risk of sounding cynical, to some extent, each search firm has a list of superstars that they've helped relocate, move, find positions for, so on and so forth.
Sure.
And how do you, what kind of a rubric do you use to evaluate candidates and also to make sure that you're going beyond the people with whom you currently or in the past have had relationships to get at people who may be the superstars for another search firm? So how do you expand the base so that you actually can find us the best candidate for this position?
Right, that's a good question. In terms of rubric, yeah, we absolutely have a grading system. Obviously, when you have bullet points on a job description, right, of what you're looking for, I mean, that's the basic one. How many boxes do they check, right? And then you get into the important details: leadership, capability of really dealing with government, back and forth, understanding a large P&L. This is not a small P&L by any means. It's a good size one, so you got to be familiar with that. It has to be the right step up. They are stepping up. In terms of our base, the beauty of this is, I know that came up in a previous meeting with you folks, but we are the premier maritime recruitment company in the United States, which is a good thing in terms of where you're at and what you're looking for. Because I know you're looking for executive search committee with maritime experience. So in terms of sharing and certainly getting as many contacts as possible, I certainly have friends in different industries that recruit, whether it be healthcare, transportation, whatnot. Certainly would lean on those, see if they have anybody that they think they should be interested. But obviously in the end, it's direct relationship between you and I and our back and forth. That will be the ultimate deciding factor on how we can place this person. But in general, yeah, we want to get the largest footprint possible. And my guess is this person's going to come from the maritime industry. They have to, based on the challenges you're going to have and certainly knowledge that they need. So.
Okay, Rob, you've got your hand up again.
Yeah, another follow-up question on process, and that relates to references. Where does that occur? Who does it? What's the normal way that you would recommend doing references on candidates?
Sure, typically we do them. It's just easier that way. And what we do is lean on you, right? Obviously, our back and forth is going to be good enough that I'll have a list of questions that I want to ask these. The references, right? Typically, we do 3 to 5 professional references. Obviously, there has to be some bit of discretion on that, their current role. If they've worked somewhere for 15 years, that becomes a little harder, right? Because that's their current job. But we are solid at that in terms of asking the right questions and catering the reference checklist, as we call it, to a specific search like this, right? It's going to be heavy on all the topics that you've listed, right? So we certainly would do that for you and share that with you in a meeting and kind of go down by line of what the reference said. And it's certainly, you have the option to talk to them as well, right? If you want to ask further questions and want to have a conversation with the reference itself, I could certainly set you up with that. So.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Okay, Mr. Lowell.
Yes, thank you, Jim.
Jim, I think I'm next.
Oh,
on
that's
that.
right. No, that's right. Rob, you're next.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I'm sorry, I got caught up in my own thought process here, with my own rubric.
So the next topic is chemistry, and really looking at chemistry both in the direction of you and the candidates, and then in the direction of you to us, and just what your approach to that is. And I think one of the things in particular in the with the candidates is some candidates are staring you right in the face, and yet you would never think that they're a candidate because, whatever. And yet a good recruiter has the ability to have them, consider this position when they might not otherwise have. So I'm curious about your approach to the developing the relationship, and maybe even an anecdote that you can be, you don't have to name names, but one that would sort of exemplify what we're talking about.
A great question. And that is really, that's where we shine the most at Flagship is our relationship with these candidates and clients alike, right? But certainly you want to reach out. One of the things I was taught when I was just joining this firm 12 years ago was make them say no, as in the candidate, right? So you don't never want to predetermine a candidate would say yes or no to a role. You need to ask them. And that's one thing we've certainly learned over the past. And there's been times where I've seen a candidate, maybe 2, 3, 4 years into my job, I didn't ask them about a role and they ended up getting it, right? So that's a good hard lesson on always ask the candidate if they'd be interested, regardless of where they're at in their life, regardless of where the job is, and certainly let them know and be aware. And that's the advantage you'll have with us certainly would be the amount of people that are contacted about this role and sold on it, right? And they can turn it down, that's fine, but they will be contacted. And in terms of the relationship you have with the candidate, it's very important to note that when you do come from the industry we come from, right? I went to Kings Point, I sailed for 5 years, and then obviously was hired to do this. It's very important to get it right, because the industry knows, right? That we take a lot of pride and a lot of responsibility in that to find the right search. And don't kid yourself, this search it's not easy. I understand how important it is. That came across very clear on your meetings that this is a very, very important hire that could really change the trajectory of the Steamship Authority. So we're well aware of that, and certainly the responsibility on us to get it right. So,
Great, thank you.
of course.
Mr. Lowell.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Mike, as well. I like the way you're answering these questions overall. Just want you to know that.
Thank you.
There's a couple of things that haven't been mentioned yet, but we'll see what the chair says towards the end about any more follow-ups. So can you tell us a story of a successful search that would be relevant to the criteria that you're looking at for this particular search?
Certainly, I won't mention the company, but I will mention the area and certainly but the success on it. It's in the Northeast, which is good. It's a ferry system that operates in the Northeast. And they were looking for what I thought was a very, very challenging candidate. They wanted someone who had sailed a captain on a tugboat, someone who's familiar with waterfront construction, someone who had led a group of 50 or more, and someone who had a P&L experience of 50. And we managed to find somehow all four, and the candidate is still there 12 years later. So it was a lot of boxes, and it looked very intimidating when we started, but we just happened to find the right two candidates, and they chose the right one. So
excellent. And have you had an unsuccessful search? I mean, hate to ask that, but
no, it's true. It does happen, right? And part of it is the communication. Like we've stressed that, and that's what I'm really eager and excited about, because it does sound like the communication between us would be outstanding. But yeah, one time, obviously the search got canceled. It happens. The new leadership took over. I was assigned a role. It was a retained search, and they came in and said, we really don't need that person. And the other was simply a job refusal of somebody who got an offer that was just much higher than the role, and it was a much higher responsibility. So they ended up going internal with that. It was down between them and my person, and they offered my person. And it was a good learning experience to really ensure, and this is 7-8 years ago, certainly to ensure they will move and for the right price. And most importantly, you have to get into these candidates' lives a bit. You have to understand what you're up against. As you're paying me, I'm technically your employee on this.
yeah,
And I have to dig in on these candidates' lives and figure out, okay, you've got this, that, and the other that would be an obstacle of moving, right? You have to be realistic. And I also try to find out, and I do, whether they're interviewing anywhere else not. Who are you up against, right? That kind of thing. So it's very important to realize that these candidates have other things going on too. They're not always just devoted to this project, but that's my job, is to ensure they are. So.
yep. Excellent. Thank you so much, Mike.
Of course.
Thank you. Jim.
Yeah, thanks. No, I'm just thinking through what's just been said. The processor's a little slow. Okay. Moving, Michael.
We got to thank the Eagles for taking care of the Chiefs early last night, so we all get a little better rest.
We don't want to go down that track. We only have an hour. However, okay, key elements of your proposed engagement agreement with the Steamship, would you talk about that a little bit? And what consideration would you give for candidates brought to this process by the Steamship Authority?
Absolutely. I thought about that. Yeah. So looking over our process, it's 3 steps, right? In terms of the fee alone, it's broken up in 3 parts: the execution, the submittal of a short list, and the placement, right? So that would come into the short list area. Maybe we have, again, 3 to 5 outstanding candidates and you want to lump them in. If your person, upon the short list, we would send the second invoice, right? That protects you and I. And of course, your candidate would be, or candidates would be competing against my list. And if the third and final, if the placement goes with your team and you found the right candidate, then obviously a successful search. I would call that a successful search. And secondarily, obviously that third and final payment isn't made. So it protects you, it protects me, it protects all of our work together. So is that what you were looking for?
That was remarkably direct and to the point.
Okay.
Thank you on that.
No
Rob, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, so what happens if all of those steps are successful? We've paid the final third, and then 2 months later, or with some period of time later, we have a backing out, a change. What happens then?
Oh yeah, I would beat that. It doesn't
Happens.
happen much, so it's hard for me to kind of fathom that. And that is why you have this retained search is the idea to do it and the way to do it. But yeah, you would either go back to your short list, right? Or if the candidate was from your end, right? In terms of, it was down to the final 2, one of my candidates, one of yours. If your candidate's still a fit, you offer, and we would obviously, either find a new candidate for you or have to give you back to third, right? So, does that make sense? Basically, we're on the hook no matter what for a year. That's the way our contract stands. In terms of if a candidate leaves after anywhere beyond the first year or before the first year, we do a search for free. And I think between 1 year and 2 years, looking at it right now, it's 50% off, obviously, because you've already paid for this service, but the person lasted a year, in between a year and 2 years. So that's a good question. Honestly, it's never come up where the person's left after two months, but it has to be guarded as well on the contract to protect you. So,
Rob, anything further?
Nope, thanks.
Okay, we've done quite well in terms of timing. Follow-up questions from Mr. Jones, Mr. Lowell, Mr. Madere, myself.
No, I'd just like to make, one comment that I appreciated was the fact that you tuned into our meetings.
Yeah.
And that's important, because if you don't know what the Steamship Authority is, you gotta, make sure that you're relaying to your client, what they're walking into and what their needs are and responsibilities. So, understanding our culture, as they say, that big word, and things, I think is really important to the success of that candidate. So,
well, I feel like I know you almost. I feel like I know you all. I've been.
Well, that's too bad.
I still showed up, so that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Rob. No, sorry, Nat. You had your hand up.
Yeah. I just want to thank you again, Mike, and just a kind of a word of advice if you end up being the firm, you got to find a listener. Okay. Yep. This entity, I have lots of words to describe the Steamship that I won't say here. Some are funny, they're all truthful, but some are humorous. It's a private business that's a public entity at the same time, and the uniqueness of this operation is going to be key to this person's ability to discern all different people's experiences and points of view, and both islands are very different from each other. I mean, this is this has to be the right person. So the days of making a motion, all in favor say aye for the next general manager are few and far between. So this process has not been done like this before to this level, and I'm flattered to be part of it. And your interview to me was excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob, you got your hand up again?
Yep, I do. Mike, yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. As you might guess, we've been talking about rubrics. We got a rubric we're using. And one area that I'd really love to get a little bit more from you, and that was sort of starting to go down that path, and that's about the challenges. I'd really like to get a little bit more insight in your understanding of the challenges we have. You mentioned a couple, employment challenges, P&L, geography. I think Nat was sort of getting towards where some of these other challenges are, but I'd really appreciate, and I know you know as well, so that's why, this is an area that I think you should be able to hit a home run for us. And that's the challenges we have, because I think that is what Nat was implying in a general sense. But what are some of the more specific challenges that are self-evident, I think, in this position?
I think it's getting anybody that checks all the boxes. That's the first challenge, right? And if they don't, you and I and our team working together to find out if that person can overcome them, right? Whatever they don't have, if they have the ability but haven't done it before, whatever it is, right? Whether it's they're an expert in marine transportation and communication, but haven't dealt primarily with a government entity before, or whether it's the opposite, someone who's run an outstanding P&L on the transportation side, but maybe didn't come from the deck plates, right? So it's a combination of the above. Certainly, look, geography, relocation costs, that's a key, I think. I know I talked prior to that about that, but I think, like you said, the unique candidate that can handle all of it, right? In a way that is professional. He's a great leader. She doesn't matter. She's a great leader, but also knows when to listen. Somebody that certainly can improve the transportation side, right? Like I said, you're not alone in the fact that mariners are short right now. That's not a new thing, unfortunately. And I do think the schools are starting to catch up now, and we do have great relationship with all the schools as well. So that's a positive. But I think, I think the reality you're facing is it's going to be a search where luckily you're not faced with a ton of resumes, but these people will be interested. And they're going to have an emotional part of that to them. They're going to have someone that does care to fix issues and is open to hearing new and really kind of getting around future roadblocks, right? They're going to have to think 2 steps ahead. So in terms of challenges, I mean, you'd be surprised. You're not the first that's come to us or any recruiting firm and who says, our search is very unique, right? They're all unique in its well. Some are easier geography based, but maybe the search itself is harder, what they're looking for. I think you guys have a nice blend. I really do. A nice location, a well-functioning entity, a good board that seems to have the best interest of the ferries and their minds, and certainly an attractive job itself. People like leaders that we're going to go after like to solve problems. That's what they like to do. That's what they live for, right? And they're very good at it. And I think you find the right leader, the right person with the right experience, it'll all work out. It will. So,
All right, Michael, I want to drill down further on what Rob just started. You talked a little bit about the challenges facing the search.
okay.
I'd like you to be very specific from your understanding of the Steamship Authority, specifically this entity.
Okay.
What are the challenges in your view that the general manager whom we hire, what will that person face? What are those challenges?
They're going to have to be ready to be thrown in the fire, right? They're going to have to be able to answer to a board. Not everybody has before. And the challenges themselves, obviously the imaging, how the steamship looks to local and state authorities, right? And I know that's why obviously this has been an issue, deciding, who's the right firm to go to, right? I think that the challenge of getting the mariners on board and then not having to cancel crossings and whatnot, certainly increasing the capability for cargo at the same time, certainly dealing with safety issues, anything related to that, keeping up the waterfront, right, to ensure that all the landings are properly taken care of. So in terms of challenges, I don't see it as something that will be overwhelming. There's challenges to your search, there's challenges to our search, right? So when you combine those, that's what I'm talking about, basically. Hope that made sense for you.
That made sense.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody on the search committee have any further questions for Michael?
I just want to team in a little bit with your question, Jim, and stuff like that. Is if you read the papers and listen to the coffee shop, the public thinks that's the Steamship Authority. The challenge for the general manager, he's got to have numerous balls up in the air at all times. So we're dealing with IT, upgrades and things like that, website upgrades, personnel, labor unions, safety, quality management systems. I mean, there's a lot of things going on, and that's what, constitutes most of the day.
Sure.
And the steamship hasn't had a deficit in over 60 years because of good management. We don't hear that, but that's the job of the general manager, plus, answering the emails and things like that. So the guys, or gal, whoever, finds a position here, has got to be pretty level-headed and, be able to have a little bit of a thick skin.
Sure. Yep, and that's a good point. I mean, so, obviously in this day and age, being a general manager or call it president or senior leadership at a transportation firm is going to have that experience, right? This isn't novel to them. They're going to certainly understand the challenges. Now you have unique challenges, right? And that'll be their job, and my job is to inform them as the process goes along of some of the unique challenges you do face, right? But in general, every company has issues. Every company has, pitfalls and things they're not strong on, right? I think this person's going to have to walk in, realize, what Steamship's strong at, what the weaknesses are, obviously further, grow the strengths, and then certainly tackle the weaknesses as quick as possible. But in a way it doesn't upset people, right? So I understand. Yeah, it's not easy. There is no magic wand right away, but it is someone who's going to be diligent, constant in their efforts to improve, and has the right contacts as well, right? That's another thing, they may not have all the answers, but maybe they know somebody that does. That's another key part, is to not be too egocentric that you think you know all the answers, right? Is to lean on your expertise and the people you've met along the way. So.
I have one.
Thank you.
I got one further question, and I appreciate the fact that you've done your homework. The successful candidate is going to have to deal with the public. You've mentioned government agencies and the oversight and so on.
Right.
We have a public that can be that's very involved in our operation, can be very critical as well. In some cases, the criticism is warranted. In some cases, I find the criticism to be less valid.
Right.
But given that and the change management that I referred to earlier, in terms of cultural change, you think that there are potential candidates out there who will be interested and successful in this position?
Yes, I do.
Based on their experience or based on candidates that you know?
Both, but my experience in filling these types of roles that are difficult, that have challenges, and certainly the people I know and that are capable and the experiences they've had. So once again, that's the beauty of being in this industry is we can lean on contacts that know somebody who might be a good fit and trust them. So that's another thing that's very important to note is that the reach is vast in the maritime industry that will bring you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so then and this should wrap it up. Are there questions that we should have asked you that we didn't? And are there things that you would like to say to us that you haven't had a chance to do?
Sure. No, I was a little worried. I had watched you prior. Obviously, I mentioned that the interviews themselves are going to be public. I had actually made a lot of calls to some other candidates, and I'm glad that's off the table. It seems. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Good. That was a part.
Until the finalists.
Right. I understand that. Yeah. At that point, they need to be prepared for that. I understand. Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my biggest question, honestly, going in, because that would hurt the search itself. People were going to drop out before they ever entered, but that sounds like it's solved up. Good. I think in general, you've obviously you've asked questions of myself and our firm of what we've been able to do. Obviously, we've been successful with you, Mr. Mune. We obviously successful with Hui as well. So look forward to progressing and certainly finding the right candidate. But I think in general, you should feel good. It's a great opportunity. It's not, I know that it's overwhelming, and I know that there's a lot of people that want to get this right, and I certainly do as well. But the attitude towards the interviews needs to be one of certainly challenging, but positive. Right? Moving forward, I think that's a big part of this. It's a challenge, right? Everything's a challenge. Raising children's a challenge, any sport's a challenge, but the reality is you're not up against something that's cannot be done. You just got to find the right candidate with the right temperament and the right experience, and it'll fall into place. So.
All right, thank you. Unless any of the working group has any further questions, we're going to go into recess until 1 o'clock, at which time we're going to talk to another firm. We are not taking public comments since this is an interview process for the working group to conduct. I will tell people who are interested that there are 9 attendees viewing this, and half of those are from the Steamship Authority. So with that, Michael, thank you very much for your time, also for your preparation, and we look forward to letting you know how things progress with us.
Thank you. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
The meeting will now go into recess until 1 o'clock. We will use the same Zoom link to get into the meeting. So thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Yeah.
you.